Riffical Records presents the Projekt Gemineye Update with your host, Mark Anthony K. Greetings, friends, and welcome to Projekt Gemineye Update number 91. So today we're going to be doing an interview with Mr. Joe Bailey. Now, that name might seem familiar to you who have been following along in the journey of the new Projekt Gemineye album in the year 3073 Book 1. Joe Bailey is one of the two guests that appear on the record. Joe does vocals for 3 of the songs on the record. So I thought it was important to get him on and to talk about, a bit about him and, his influences and stuff like that. And what he thought about the songs that he worked on and so on and so forth. And you'll hear it now in the interview that's coming up. So yeah, it went very well. Joe's a great guy. And I highly recommend that if you haven't heard any of Joe's music, to go and check it out. He is on Bandcamp. So all you have to do is just check out or search for Joe Bailey in Bandcamp and his music will come up. And if you like Projekt Gemineye stuff, you'll like his stuff as well. That's for sure. So, before I go to the video, I wanted to also thank everybody so far for the support during the pre-order. It's been going very nicely. Getting a steady stream of orders every day. And yeah, at this rate, it should go, fairly smoothly. I haven't made a cutoff date yet. I'm still waiting on a few things from Jason for the layout of the CD booklet. It's looking fantastic, though. He sent me a couple of little examples of stuff, and it looks just brilliant. It's worth every second of waiting is worth it because his work is absolutely stellar. And I think you guys will also agree, and you'll enjoy it very much. Other than that, I think there isn't very much more I need to talk about right now. Everything's basically sort of a waiting game. Once I get the stuff, I send it in, and then it's just a matter of waiting for Train Records to get their end of it done. But as I was told, it's a pretty quick turnaround, so I'm not really worried about that too much. So before we know it, we'll have the CD in our hands. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's, rather than me sitting here babbling and thinking about what else to say, if I've forgotten anything to say, let's go over to the video with Mr. Joe Bailey talking about his work on the new Projekt Gemineye album. Let's cut to the video now. Greetings, everyone. Mark Anthony K here with the latest Projekt Gemineye update. And with me, as you can see, I have a very special guest, Mr. Joe Bailey, all the way from overseas in the UK. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good. So let's start with that. For example, whereabouts in the UK are you located?
So I'm in the northwest of the UK. It's a place called the Wirral. It's just over the water from Liverpool. So, yeah,
oh,
northwest.
Very nice. Liverpool, huh? So some very important musical events happened in Liverpool. So you must have a lot of musical influence over there, eh?
Oh, well, the Beatles mainly.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start with some of the, the usual questions whenever two people first get together and chat, and that is, how long have you been singing for?
Well, I've been singing all my life, really. I'm in a very musical family. My mum was a dancer, and all my sisters are all musical as well. So always sang, but properly singing for probably about 15 years. Probably actually taking it seriously, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very good. And obviously, like me, I kind of consider you as my brother from another mother that lives over in the UK, because we're almost exactly the same in many ways. You as well are a multi-instrumentalist and a do-it-yourself sort of guy. How many different instruments do you play?
So instruments that I play well would be guitar and bass. I started on piano when I was a kid, and I did about 2 years on the piano, and then I stopped to take the bass up. So I can play a bit on the piano, but with the how technical the music is, I tend to just program it. It's easier that way.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the same way for me too. I mean, I do have my keyboard here, and I do play not as good as I could if I dedicated as much time on it as I did my guitar playing and stuff. But I think we're kind of in the same boat with that too. So obviously, you also program drums just like I do, right? So I guess one of the other things I was very curious about is since I've listened to a lot of your records that you've done, and they're really fantastic. I mean, we'll talk about more of your records very, very shortly here, but I've always wondered what your influences are.
It's a weird one, this, because I listen to so much, and yet I can't really pinpoint what influences certain albums and things. I'd say Frost probably one of the biggest influences. Stephen Wilson, Anathema, and more recently, the Flower Kings have played a big part in my writing. I love Flower Kings, so yeah, they especially the new album I've got coming out. The Flower Kings have been a huge part of what inspired the sound on that one.
Wow. Okay, so that's recent influences. What would you say would be some of your earliest influences in music?
Okay, so it probably metal bands, really. My favorite band are Cradle of Filth. So any really heavy stuff that comes out in my music is probably due to them. Bands like Cradle, Dimmy Bugger, general extreme metal bands were early influences. But when I was writing music when I was younger, bands like Him and all the new metal scene in the early days, like Linkin Park and things like that, they're always big influence. Not anymore, or maybe they are. Maybe I just don't realize it.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, it's very interesting because geographically, your influences very much are of that region. I mean, Cradle of Filth are a UK band, and Stephen Wilson and stuff like that are very huge UK artist, like a huge artist, and a lot of the stuff that he's done. And I find it fascinating because a lot of my influences, like Rush and stuff like that, are from Canada, right? Yeah, so it's almost like the things that influence us from the early age are from where we grew up. But like you, I got into like a lot of like Stephen Wilson stuff. I got into, Genesis and Yes. And what ended up happening with me is all my attention musically went overseas with it, like into your area, because I've always said that the UK is the birthplace of all the best music, like all the best progressive music, and all that stuff came from, your neck of the woods. And the Americanized version of it, like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with bands like, let's say, Fate's Warning. Do you know that? You're familiar with them? Like, I mean, that to me is like an Americanized version of what's happening in your neck of the woods, right? But I love Fate's Warning too, and Dream Theater, and but I also love Marillion as well and stuff like that. So it's interesting how we have some very similar influences here. Another thing I'm interested about is, in case for people are wondering, for example, why we're even speaking, Mr. Bailey here, I asked him to appear on my latest Projekt Gemineye album, which surprised quite a lot of people because I've done 3 albums before this and not a single person has shown up on it. I've always just done everything by myself. And he was the very first person, actually, that I asked to come on board to do a guest spot on. And to me, that's saying something because I'm very reluctant to do that. But the first time I heard Joe sing, I was really, really impressed. And I loved his songwriting, and I loved everything that he did on his record. So I really wanted to capture that onto some of my stuff. So I'm curious, what were your first thoughts of the songs that I sent you that I wrote?
I instantly knew that they would be enjoyable to sing on. I could just hear exactly what I was going to do, because like what you sent me originally, I altered slightly, only just to suit my vocal range, really, but because I thought it would bring a bit of my own flavour to songs that were already there. So yeah, I was impressed. I loved them instantly. So it was an enjoyable and very fun experience. Good.
Great, because I mean, the one thing that I was very overjoyed about was when I sent it to you. I was, hoping that you were going to take it a bit further than what I did because I only had kind of a slight idea on what to do with some of those stuff, but you hit it out of the park. Like you definitely put it into the spots that I wanted it to be. Your harmonies were fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I thought you did a great job. Just curious, out of the three that you sang, do you prefer one over the other? Or?
Let Your Spirit Fly is probably the my favorite one.
Yeah, I really dug that when how you sung it. Like I could really feel your vibe on that song, and and I think that was the one that really stuck out in my mind. That your style of singing, it really took that song to the next level. Also, Keepers of the Past, I think you did a great job with that one as well. And I think because you were able to do more with that too, you also did the pre-chorus as well as the chorus, excuse me, on that song. So you were able to put a bit more on it. But I'll tell you something that's very interesting. When I received the files the first time when you sent them over and I put them into the song, my mother was over. She was over for dinner, and she came by my little studio room here, and she popped her head in, and she instantly fell in love with the chorus in Children of Hope. That's it. Sorry, can't even remember my own songs. Children of Hope. That chorus that you sung. I mean, to me, that's the most one that sticks in my head the most. I think he did a brilliant job with that chorus in that song.
Glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad your mum likes it as well. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I've always said if I could get her to like it, then I have a good feeling that it'll, cross over to a lot more people than just us progressive people, right?
Yeah.
So that's I think that's pretty important. I mean, you don't want to only just box yourself into one area as well, right? So I'm very, very glad that you did them, and I'm looking forward to having other people hear them all, because so far I've only just put out Magic World and Keepers of the Past, and Keepers of the Past have gotten some good comments of it. So again, thank you very much for singing on those songs.
You're very welcome.
Now let's talk a little bit about your new record. You have a new record coming out, right?
A week Friday.
Okay, so what's the title of it, and talk a little bit about it.
It's called Less Than Nothing. It's going to be released on the 25th. I have a lyric video coming out today.
Oh, great!
I was supposed to do it this morning, but I got sidetracked with all my with my body falling to pieces. It's got 6 tracks on it. They're all really, really long songs. The opening track's 11 minutes, and then there's a 14-minute song on there. Last track's 10 minutes. They're all ridiculously long. It's well over an hour long. But my best mate Steve, who does the artwork for the album, all my albums, he said it's my best yet, and so that's encouraging to hear. So I hope everyone thinks so.
Well, I have a feeling it's going to be as well. I've had the honor to have been asked to play a guitar solo on one of your songs as well. So I'm very curious to hear how this record turns out, because just from what I heard from that piece that I did, I really enjoyed it very much. I mean, it obviously wasn't fully constructed at that point yet, but just from what I heard there, I really, really dug what I was hearing. So is there any sort of theme in this, or is it just a collection of songs that you did? Or
yeah, lyrically it's a collection, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite bleak in subject matter, but it's not a story. It's bleak in separate parts, really. Musically it's not bleak at all. Musically it's very quite some of it's even in a major key, which is not something I normally do.
Yes, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm curious then, compared to your last record, what would you say is the biggest difference between the last one and this one?
There's quite a few bits actually. The drums are different. I think just generally the mixing job I've done on this album's far better. The guitar tones, I've used different guitar tones on this one, whereas on the previous albums I stuck to the like sounds that I was confident with. Yeah. So this time I branched out a bit and used different sounds. What else? My voice sounds different on this album as well. I don't know why that is, but I don't know. I just generally I'm pleased with the way everything's turned out. Normally, it's like there's always something that niggles at me, and it winds me up so bad. But this one, everything fell into place, so I knew straight away that this was going to be an easier album.
Wow. You know, what I find fascinating, why I'm always smiling while you're talking, is that a lot of what you're saying I can completely echo with this one too. I mean, the guitar tones, same exact thing like you said. I was very much sticking with one thing with my last record. This one, I made it a point to completely try to find a different guitar tone for my record, just like you. The singing, I think my singing has improved vastly since the last record, and I do think I sound a bit different, just like you said. I mean, a lot of the things that you've said I can completely relate to, and it's almost like a mirror image of each other, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm trying to think too. You're putting this out digitally, right? It's coming out on, yeah. Are there any plans maybe in the future to put out a CD or a vinyl of the records?
No plans at the moment. Only because simply because I don't think there's enough people who would buy it, and that's down to me being a bit lazy with my promotional work. I tend to put an album out, I talk about it for a bit, and then it's on to writing the next one. Then that one sort of gets forgotten. So if there were enough people to buy it, then I'd love to put out a vinyl of it, but I just need to put more work into, promoting me as a product more, I suppose.
Yeah,
that's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand. I mean, for me, when I first did the first album, An Ordinary Day, I was very unsure about whether I should do it, but being in bands before that were of some note helped, of course, and also I'm not too bad, I think, in terms of promoting myself, so it kind of helped as well. I mean, I'm nowhere near selling thousands of albums or anything like that, but I can usually get away with printing what I print out and getting rid of them. Like the vinyl, I usually do about 100 copies of the vinyl, and after about a year or so, I'm usually sold out of them. So but hey, you never know. Maybe this video might help get a couple of extra dozen people to check it out too, and you never know, right? I mean, I definitely think that this kind of cross promotion thing definitely helps. Maybe some of the people that listen to your stuff will check me out, and some of the people that listen to me will check your stuff out. So that's all the great reasons to do these kinds of things. Curious, like me, I don't think that I've seen any evidence of you performing this stuff live. Do you have any plans in the future of doing this live?
Not at the moment. When I've got a bit more time, I might do. It's because I think it will involve getting together quite a big band, and it's just going to be a bit difficult with how busy things are at the moment. But
yeah,
I think more likely, if we do play live, it'll be with Steve, with the Xylem project. That'll probably be more likely to be a live thing than my own music.
Yeah, great. Well, I look forward to it. I mean, I get that same question a lot over here. Everyone's like, "Hey, you gonna come over to Europe and play this stuff?" And I'm like, I don't even have like a single other member of this to do it with. You know what I mean? It would be interesting. I've always said to myself, because I also had, I'm not sure if you're aware of David Donnelly, the guy who played bass. He's a pretty well-known guy over in your neck of the woods. But I always told Dave when we talk on Skype, because he said, we should go out and play these songs live. I go, well, if I do it, I'm going to tackle him in for a bass player. And, I would maybe give you an old, nudge in the ribs and see if maybe you'd want to jump on and do some stuff too, whether it's guitar or singing or whatever, right? Because obviously you're a very well trained guitar player as well, so that would be helpful, right? As well. So you never know. Let's just put it that way. For people out there listening, you never know what can happen in the future, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll end off with one more question I'm kind of curious about, because you touched on something that I can kind of understand and relate to as well, is that you said that usually you'll make a record, put it out, talk about it a little bit, and then you're right on to the next sort of project. exactly like me. I mean, just between all of us listening here, I've already started writing another couple of songs already, and this record hasn't even come out yet. Have you already started working on stuff before this new record's come out?
Uh, I have. It's very brief. There's not much of it, but I when just before A Price to Pay came out last year, I'd already had 2 songs for Less Than Nothing written. So yeah, it's constant. It's just round the clock, isn't it? Can't stop.
Yeah.
Can't turn my brain off.
Yeah, well, I think that's actually beneficial to people like me and you, because I think that if we kind of stop for too long, then it's like, we never stop knowing how to write some bike. You just get on and you get back in the groove quick enough. But I think the more that we keep doing it nonstop, the better and better and better we get. You know what I mean? That's why I think we don't stop. We just keep continuing to hit the iron when it's hot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Iron's
great.
always hot.
Yes, yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling very well, my friend. Okay, so I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for your time. I know that you've had some things that you had to take care of, and I'm glad that you were able to come on board and chat with me. And before we go though, where can people go and check out your fantastic music?
So it's on Bandcamp. If you just search for Joe Bailey, all my albums are there. I'm also on Spotify, Apple Music, all the
Usual suspects.
Stuff. Yeah. And YouTube as well. All my albums are on there, but there'll be a lyric video for the Propaganda Train today.
Great, and make sure you check that out. I'm going to be keeping an eye out for it too. So the Propaganda Train, make sure you check it today on YouTube. I'll be checking it out, and I'll be making a comment on my Facebook about it as well. So make sure you guys check it out. I'm sure it's going to be stellar, as all of Joe Bailey's work is. And thank you again, my friend, and we'll talk again very soon.
Hope so. Thank you very much.
All right, bye. Okay. So there you have it. A rather informative video, if I don't say so myself. And looking forward to hearing Joe's new record when it comes out. And as you heard, I did appear on it doing a guitar solo on one of the songs. So if you're interested in hearing that, then I suggest you check out his record when it comes out. His records are digital only. There are no CDs or vinyl, as you heard in the interview. But you never know. Maybe one day something will come out on either format. But again, thank you everybody for watching this video. Thank you for your support. And I do hope you guys check out Joe's stuff as well. He's a really talented guy, and I really hope to be working with him in the future on more things. And so thanks again, and I will talk to you guys all very soon with more Projekt Gemineye news. Until then, bye for now.